All right. Inna alhamdulillah wa kafah. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم أهلا وسهلا بكم ومرحبا Guanyin Lights, bienvenidos a todos people. Pakhair Ragle Khushamadid and Swagatam. Alright, so ¿Qué pasa, mi gente? Alright, what is going down? Wrong day, yeah. I thought, technically this still makes Monday, doesn't it? It's Monday nights, but it's the other night. Oh, I'm too confused, people. Nah. What it is that I wasn't going to be able to do it tomorrow night. Plans, people, plans. Samjha karo. You have to understand. So I thought, why not then? What is going down? Mutiur Rahman, Madi, Hatta, Hena, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alright. What's going on with the YouTube people? What happened with Gangu Teli? Hi. We're going to talk about that just a little later on today. Alright. Somebody says, okay, tell us what plans. Yaar, samjha karo. I can't be telling people all my plans and things. I gotta keep people in the... let there be mystery, people. Let there be mystery. It's Sunday, yeah. It's technically Monday now, you see. So this is why I thought, you know what, let's push it to Monday. Let's let it go past midnight and then I'll start. So, what is going on, people? What is going on? So much to cover. So many things. Somebody said, did you pray? Abhe na, mere baap, tu aage padh le. Did you pray? Cha. I'm sorry, God. It's amazing, isn't it? The preoccupations people have with other people's kind of like worship. Right, so who is getting 2 live streams? Are there 2 live streams? Let me take a look. There shouldn't be 2 live streams. How is there 2 live streams going on? Can I see anything from here? Let me go back into manage live now. It should just be 1 really. Same one. Yep, I take it. Yep, so I can only see 1 on here. I don't know. Right, so people, Claire, you're doing it with the stars on Facebook. Let me bring up, usually tune in Tuesday morning. Right, so I will be speaking a bit about David Woods as well. So what I'll be taking a look at today, I'll speak a bit about the whole David Woods. I mean, I can comment on Sam Shamaun as well. The whole Muhammad hijab thing, that whole flare up and David Woods tearing up the Quran thing. I'll take a look at UAE and Israel, people. Israel, huh? The neo-Nazi state. Right, who have no dignity or humanity left to their, just left. But I'll be taking a look at that, commenting on what do I think of the whole new relations, what is my analysis on it. Chalo, since everybody's giving an analysis, I might as well give one as well. In addition to that, Gangu Teli. We have to look at Gangu Teli. A bit about the charities as well, but taking your questions, people. So let's begin as always. And I know last week, for some reason, there was an issue with the sound when I was playing a video. So let's take a look at that. Let's go to, as always, initiate with the shairi people, and let's see if it's coming through.
लोग टूट जाते हैं एक घर बनाने में।
हाय हाय
सुनिएगा कि लोग टूट जाते हैं एक घर बनाने में, तुम तरस नहीं खाते बस्तियां जलाने में। क्या कहना था। और हर धड़कते पत्थर को लोग दिल समझते हैं। हर धड़कते पत्थर को लोग दिल समझते हैं, उम्रें बीत जाती हैं दिल को दिल बनाने में।
हाय 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 उफ 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 peoples. So you can see from there, okay, the sound's playing fine. That's good to know that. Es muy importante. And those of you that ain't familiar with the latest, I did upload and I'll be speaking a little bit about this later on. Baba Farid Duddin Ganguteli leaking Yasser Qadi's email and the aftermath. We'll take a look at that. But let's come right back. What have we got here? Let me just adjust this YouTube chat. It's taking up so that's better. All right. So, right, what is going on? Somebody asked, is music permissible? Music, yeah, you're still stuck on that. Yeah, you're still stuck on music, huh? You know, the thing is this, look, people, of course, first of all, of course, music is permissible, but all right. You see, look how mukhtasar, how just summarized our time in this dunya is, really, when you think about it. Now, from a perspective, I understand qualitatively it is still a long time, but I'm just saying, when you look at it, you think, whoa, is that it? Allah has placed you in this world to enjoy. It doesn't mean, you see, yeah, I understand. People will say, oh, does that mean that there's no rules? No, it doesn't mean that. There are certain rules, of course, but you see, you'll be surprised to know that Allah has not made nowhere near as many things haram for you that you yourselves have made haram upon yourselves. Allah, Allah, Allah. As Allah mentions in the Quran, that it was Bani Israel who made the things haram upon themselves. And it was not, and then because of that, they were then stuck with them. So people, they make these rulings, they follow this kind of like sectarian talk, they get stuck, they're not allowed to disagree, they live an entire lifetime like that. Like, look at music. Music is the nourishment of the soul, people. Allah, Allah, Allah. For a person to have deprived him or herself of music their entire life, only to, maybe at a later age in life, maybe when they're 60, 70, maybe, to realize that, to realize that maybe what I've lived my whole life has been a lie. तौबा तौबा हाय वो रोज़े पशेमा का पशेमा in the words of Ghalib, that that a day of such a regret is in and of itself so regrettable. So people, do not limit yourselves to the bizarre limitations placed by sects and certain clergymen. Use that in there. And I want to say that I watched a clip of Sheikh Yasir Qadi Sahib, our one of our beloveds.
Dajjal with a small d.
But I watched this clip of Sheikh Yasir Qadi, and in it he's trying to justify himself. And I'll tell you something. This is a sign of insecure men, insecure people. They often go far and beyond, over and beyond, in trying to justify themselves. You need a bit of backbone to you. You understand? When you I understand in certain contexts you justify something, but to over express a justification always, you're always seeking the forgiveness. Yeah, have some dignity, man. But so anyway, I watched this clip. But in this clip, it's not like he was seeking compassion, but maybe he was. But Sheikh Yasir Qadi was saying that, and he was trying to explain to the public. It's on YouTube. I saw it last week, actually. He says, I've in my entire life, teaching life of Islam, I've only ever followed positions that of ulama, and I've never come up with a position myself ever. And from one perspective, people might say, from one perspective, you might think, Vah. You might think, Vah, Sheikh Yasir Qadi ji, Vah. From the other perspective, one has to ask, you see, basically what you're saying is you have never had an original thought in your entire life to do within this faith, which you've never ever, nothing has occurred to you originally, ever. Abbe yaar, ye kahe ka PhD hai? What have you been studying for? Why don't you just, alright, so if that's been your studies in Islam as a teacher of Islam, remember, this isn't a student this is a teacher of Islam. I think has this gone a bit blurry? That's better. Right, so then you might as well just pack up shop and, I don't know, you might as well just open a fish and chip shop. Yeah. Basically, what you're saying is I've never had leadership qualities ever in my Islamic profession. I am nothing but a follower. And as humble as that may sound, it just, it's a complete disservice to people, their own training and profession. So I feel sometimes, look, theek hai, everybody has to blag a little, but as they say, holat, rako holat. Keep it cool, man, keep it cool. So, right. Let's take a look at some questions. What is going on? Samuel Iman, you're doing it with the super chats. Is that you, though? Is that you? Mufti, do you... Oh, no, that's a different question. He sends a super chat. I'm reading somebody else's question. Why don't you think bank interest is riba? Well, Sami, that is a good question. Why? Man, what to say, man? Look, I've got a very detailed video. I'm not going to do it justice right now. Watch my video. I'll say something in summary, but watch my video. It's about 45 minutes or something. So you'll get an explanation by the end of that. If you search riba, mortgages, loans, keywords, it'll come up. Now, the Quran does not address interest today to be riba. The question isn't why don't I think this interest is riba. The real question is why do you think it is? Because when you start to look into it, you start to realize, well, where does your definition of riba actually come from? And it's incredibly confusing the moment you begin. Riba, in essence, just means something extra. So Allah says, Yurbillah, that this, as-sadaqat, that this, it will, something just to increase something, that riba in Arabic. Now, really, that would mean giving anything extra would be haram. But then you realize, in Islam, it actually doesn't work like that. I could swap you one phone for two phones. Identical. This is, what is this, S10? I could give you an S10 for two S10s. Is that not riba? Nobody in Islam say riba. I could give you one house for two houses. One car for three cars. This one big problem. So the question is, what is riba? You say, but it's for the same product. You got me. But then I say, okay, in that case, if I borrow some sugar from you today as a neighbor, those people, remember, يَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ, those people who don't do this are no good. So if I borrow some flour from you, or some, as neighbors do, especially in rural parts of the world, or borrow some sugar, tomorrow I just return a certain amount of sugar. I take some, I say I'm going to return it. So I take 2 scoops, let's say, whatever that is. Tomorrow I give some scoops. Are they the same amount? Aha. Mostly never are. Never. Nunca. Nunca, mi gente. So the question is then, why is that not riba? It's now the same thing we're talking about. Same product. Food as well. You might say, but riba. Okay, what if it's to do with dates? Then I say to you, okay, but what about the hadith of the kharras? You say, what's that? And where the person comes to the Prophet, the kharrasun, the people who would estimate. So they would say, so you've got a bunch of dates, you need them to be sold today, but you've got more in the trees, date trees, but you haven't got the time to take them off. So you say to someone, look, I tell you what, you just do a quick trade. How about these baskets of dates for, you give me these, you can take mine on the trees. Now the question is, that's permissible. Wait, a bit extra. What do the fuqaha say? Up to an entire third can be off. So you have a margin of error for up to 33%. Big problem, this one. यार ये रिबा क्या है यार, ये रिबा क्या है? What is riba then? I want to know. Here everything seems to be permissible. Acha. So riba is just on money. And the irony is the hadith actually doesn't, it's stressing that it's not on money, it's more on the products. Anyway, watch my video, hope that helps. Right, people. Right, Inaya, shukran, much appreciated for saying, those people tuning in, this is why, I should make, there you go. Here, there you go, look at that. Inaya's been upgraded. Right, you got mod status. There you go, let people know, anybody asking. Right, when will you bring Ismail Qassam saying, Mufti, when will you bring Ahmadis on Mind Trap? Now, yeah, sure, why not? Now, okay, bye, my chat. Right, so, right, there's a question on... There was a question on consciousness. There's super chat. Have I missed it? Let me see. Well, I can see it here. Handsome Hound, you're doing it. Some people define intoxication as an inability to differentiate night from day. In other words, loss of consciousness. How is it different from psychedelics? Whoa, there's a few super chats I haven't seen here. Wait there. Let me come back to that question. I want to talk about it. So, women want a divorce from cheating husbands. Is it automatic? No khula'a. He's not contactable for over a year, and khula cost money. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there are processes for a talaq where a woman goes through. They are granted, but you're right. It will cost. That is, you see, the problem with, because we live in a day and age of documentation, you see, it won't usually, masjids at the time of future nikahs will ask you if you've been married before, and if you state yes, they will ask you for proof of your talaq, so they will ask for a certificate. Now, not having that in most masjids would mean that they won't conduct the nikah. It's like asking for your proof of ID. They will ask for, have you got proof of ID? And I understand these things do cost, unfortunately. But, yeah, there's not much I can really add to that. It is unfortunate, I guess, Hey, but it is the way. It's like when people get married, they get a nikah certificate and they pay so much to do a nikah. But these things on the flip side, these are not things that you will be doing so often in life. You will probably do this maybe once in your entire life, maybe twice. It's not actually something that's so repetitive, generally speaking. Sam E has super chatted, you're doing it. There's a quick question related to that. Is a decree absolute enough? No, it isn't usually. So a civil divorce is not an Islamic divorce, and a civil marriage is not an Islamic marriage per se. They can have overlaps, but they're not technically, by default, they do not cover it. You see, saying that, but when he did the civil divorce, he had the intention of talaq, and thereby it triggers a talaq, would now be contingent to upon his declaration that he did that. And then there's other problems, you see, because husbands' talaqs, this is another thing that sometimes people don't know. They are raja'i, that means they can revoke them and cancel them, and they can do that without telling the other party. So this is why it is always better to get objective talaqs, like that Sharia councils give, because they give what are talaq ba'in, which are irrevocable. They cannot be cancelled. Right, so moving on. Sam E, you're doing it right with the super chat. Are the ahadith right, are the ahadith about Khurasan, Dajjal, black flags, Umayyad fabrications against Abul Abbas al-Safah, and the Abbasids in general. You see, I'm not so sure that they're against the Abbasids, because the Hadith actually mentioned that the Mahdi's army, I'm pretty sure they mentioned the Mahdi's army will be coming with the black flags. So I don't think they would have served anti. If anything, they were part and parcel of the Abbasid propaganda. Because Khurasan is where Abu Muslim and all, the great Abbasi revolution begins in Khurasan. And he emerges, Abu Muslim and these other people, they emerge from there. And then later on, often is the story, by the way, often, that they are later betrayed by their own leaders and killed off because they're seen as too talented. This is like, when they say you're too qualified for the job. So what they would do in the past is they would just kill them off afterwards. Because they're too talented, So this is a danger as well. Sometimes being too talented is dangerous. Right, let's go to the next question. Some people, right, okay, now Abdul R has super chatted. You're doing it, Abdul R. Much love. Right, so, Mufti, can you speak about soulmates and twin flames? What are twin flames? Ye twin flames kya hai? Right, those terms are really common now. I've not, maybe I'm just not in, I'm too old now. I'm just a relic. It's like, as Gangu Teli says, he's ended my career. Gangu Teli ended my career. We're going to come to that later on. So, is the sticker thing... What sticker thing? Is the sticker... Oh, right, it's gone. I've lost the... my twin... twin flame. Right. So... Mufti, when you say music is halal because there is no Sahih Hadith to make it haram, however, what of the living tradition? Would that not indicate prohibition? No, not necessarily. In fact, what's interesting is even though Imam Malik, I accept he didn't like music, but there's a difference, you see. People not liking something is based on their temperament. But what is interesting is Medina was known for people having a proclivity, an interest in musical instruments in the city of Medina after the Prophet's life. It was known for that. In fact, the saying was that it became proverbial, that a proverb that do not ask, that people that disagreed with it said, do not ask Ahlul Medina on music because they will just say it's halal. And do not ask Ahlul Kufa about alcohol or the Nabid, because they will just say it's halal. This became a saying. So it's interesting you mentioned the living tradition thing. Shadman, you're doing it. Henna, as always, you're doing it. Right. Ismail P. You're doing it, huh? Dropping the P, the super chats. I have tried DMT and it was amazing. Bienvenidos. welcome. Welcome to a different caravan. But I'm wondering what the Islamic view on psychedelics is, and you are open to trying it and your opinion. So I'll take this question now because it joins in with the other super chat that was sent by Handsome Hound. So both on psychedelics. So as far as my personal thing, what I'm let me just forget about my personal thing. Personal. Let me just tell you my general teachings on this. I say that these things are a legality, so obviously keeping the legality in mind, but in certain parts of the world they are not illegal. So I'm speaking not from a legality perspective that people can look in their own, localities, regions, parts of the world, wherever they are. I'm speaking from a religious perspective. I am a keen advocate of psychedelics. I feel that as entheogens, I refer to them as entheogens, things by which one can connect to the divine and discover aspects of the ruh, which I feel is consciousness, by taking a portal into dimensions that exist, but you would never know that they exist. And they exist in ways that are more real than this very world that exists in front of us. But what I'm saying now just sounds crazy. That's all I can say is, Hai kam bakht tune pi nahi. You see, it would sound crazy, but that's like Socrates coming back into the cave, you see. And he tells the people that, outside the cave there is this world. And this is nothing. There is a real world. There is real light. So those of you that ain't familiar, I'm sure all of you are familiar with the allegory of the cave, but those of you that ain't, let me share it with you briefly. So Plato relates that Socrates taught them. He said that he gives an allegory, this kind of like a metaphorical story. He says that there are people that are trapped in this cave. They have just lived and died and, had children, and they've just grown up, lived and died in this cave. All they've ever known is this cave. And what they do is they are kind of enslaved or whatever, they are imprisoned, but they're held up to face this wall. And behind them is a large fire, but they can't see the fire. They can just see that, they can see this light around them. And they can see shadows that are casted onto the wall in front of them. That are their shadows and the shadows of the flames. But also between them and the fire, there is like a bridge on which workers are passing by. So they're going this side, that side, and they're carrying objects. So these are casting an illustrious kind of shadow on the wall. So what the people of the cave, they have their games, but they're not games, but their world, where they become so talented at defining these shadows. And they can even predict now. They have certain formulas in which they can predict what the next object will be. And some of them are right and some are better than others. And they can say, well, the next object will be like this, and he'll have this thing, and he'll have that. And what happens is one day, one of these men breaks free. So they kind of held up, pinned to only look forward. So he breaks free. When he turns around, he sees a fire. And he's kind of almost blinded and shocked by this fire. Because these people don't know that those shadows are coming from a fire. That's all they've ever known. He then, just about escaping, gets out of the cave and then is blinded by the sunlight. After his eyes acclimate, after they adjust to the sunlight, he sees that there's a world outside. And this cave is really, that's all it is. So he comes back in to tell his fellow companions that there is actually a world outside. These shadows don't even have a reality. They are not real objects. They are shadows being casted by people walking on the bridge. Now, people mock him and they call him crazy. And because his eyes haven't truly adjusted to the dark yet, he's no longer good at their game of detecting shadows. So Socrates, in Plato's version, is that man who's telling them. But anyway, see, like the allegory of the cave, I tell you people, chalo hum bhi hain. It's also us, ana. Right, so that this psychedelics is, I feel, if done well, I'm not interested in these things as recreation, as kind of, having fun, and it's about them opening up a portal to discovering reality. So I'm a huge advocate of that. I don't feel it's haram. And yes, it does alter certain your states of mind. You see, to me, it's not altering, although I understand that's how some people would argue. I would feel it's more about opening, expanding your reality. It's about having this portal. So we view things differently, put it like that. So yeah, DMT, of course, is the daddy, the spirit molecule. Cool. So, and yes, one may argue that, if that's the case, then if a person was experiencing something, then they couldn't pray salah. Like, one could argue. I mean, firstly, I think you could pray salah, to be fair. But okay, on certain things you couldn't, I suppose, if it was a very lengthy ayahuasca kind of thing. But then pray your salah before. Or pray after. It's zaruri. You have to pray then. Yeah, but that doesn't make it haram automatically. The fact that you can pray your salah, I feel, but the fact that you don't want to be praying your salah, or you're not at an optimum pace to be praying your salah, let's say, is not the problem. That's like saying sleep. When you're sleeping, you can't pray, so is sleeping haram now? It's ridiculous. Just because you're doing something which takes a while, it doesn't mean that, now, if it was salah time at this, then going to work. Where I go to work, and that, let's say some people, they can't pray at certain times. So, or anything that is going to prevent a certain time. So you just work around that. It doesn't make that thing automatically haram just because if it coincides with prayer time, it would block, let's say, prayer time, or your capacity to pray, or your ability to pray, doesn't necessitate that it's a haram thing per se. Intoxication, this is not intoxication. It's not intoxication. I disagree that, I mean, people can disagree with me, but I won't see this as an intoxication. Alcohol is a depressant. It is not psychedelic. Alcohol, anybody who says that hasn't actually studied psychology. They haven't studied the chemicals. They've got no idea what they're talking about. Alcohol is a depressant. It is not a stimulant, and it is not a psychoactive element. Psychoactive elements are different. They act differently on the brain. Okay? So they are not depressants, and they are not... But anyway, this isn't a lesson on... Chalo, let's move on. Right, so... What is going on? Are you doing the debating? Man, we're doing the debating, man. Is this the guy who says, you nutty? You're a big guy. You're doing it. Alcohol is a drug. You can't change what's haram, period. I agree. But you show me where it says that these things are haram, where it says uh, things like mushrooms or things like DMT is haram. You show me where it says that. Doesn't say that in the Quran, doesn't say that in the Sunnah. Now you're going to say, oh, but I want to use an analogy. So you want us to go by your brain. I thought you said the book of Allah is complete. It's complete, but there's a few appendices that we have to kind of add. So what happened to the verse Tibyanan li kulli shay? Was Allah kind of hinging that verse on your understanding? And then in that case, why should I go with your understanding? Why not my own? After all, I'm going to be asked about me. I'm not going to be asked about you. So in my understanding, it's fine. There you go. What more? Yeah, so what do you think about Sheikh Hassan Farhan al-Maliki's current position? What, right now? Okay. But Google, show us Sheikh Farhan's current position. Huh? Webcam, ये क्या हो रहा है? What's his current position? I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Right, so let's go to there's some super chats. Lil Saf has super chatted. You're doing it, Lil Saf. You're doing it. Why do Mulvis say beating saves them from punishment of hell? Yeah, that's a dumb, absolutely dumb that is.
Stupid. I'm not going to let you get the chance.
Right, so that's what Mulvis come up with. Oh, wherever you took beats from the Mulvi Sahab, the fire of Jahannam will not touch that spot. Acha, cha, cha. Did your dad light the fire of Jahannam that it's going to obey you? Fire of Jahannam. The way these people speak, it's like they act as though they have this is, it's like as if it's their personal family legacy. Islam. That is absolute nonsense, okay? It is not. You're not allowed to beat people like that. And something, people say this is now so, you could go back. Muhammad ibn Sahnun, who is and in that time, like, think about it, 1100 years ago, things would be horrific, one could imagine. 1100 years ago, people. I'm not talking about like just 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 1100. Muhammad ibn Sahnun has a book on Adab al-Muta'allimin wal Mu'allimin. He has a book on the etiquettes and the rules of teaching. And he does, in that day and age, you can imagine there was disciplining, that people used to do that culturally. He speaks about how to, even in those cases, these were extreme measures. And something slight, he says, but anything forceful and so on to a child, he declares then to be haram. And look how ancient that is. This is categorically wrong. The way they beat the hell out of the children, it's horrific. It's not, if you've ever witnessed it, it's like where I did hifd of the Quran. Boy, they used to beat the hell out of the students, man. Honestly, to break sticks on them. I mean, thank God they never ever hit me like that. I don't know how I would have reacted, because it's utterly unacceptable. I mean, they never ever did to me. I suppose they saw me as quite senior, even though there were other people, I suppose, my age, but maybe it was the fact that I came from the UK, or plus because I'd studied in Damascus, I used to speak Arabic with the other teachers, and the teachers used to refer, some of them referred to me as Sheikh, for example, even though I wasn't a Sheikh at that time, but just because of my Arabic and stuff like this. So maybe because of all of that, they just kind of had this, I had this kind of aura of respect. So they never ever treated me disrespectfully. Even when they got really angry with me. I remember a teacher got flipped once um, at me, but even then, he just was really, he just said something to it, but he never tried anything with me to hit me or something. But I used to see what he used to do in the class, man. He would break the sticks, and he used to say that, like, let's say it was a Wednesday, he would say, "Aaj Budh Bazaar hai." So they've got, it's like saying like Sunday markets. Budh is Wednesday, so in that part of town they used to have a special, like a Wednesday market kind of day, or like we have Sunday markets here. So he used to say that, and he would just go around, wham, bang, 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 bang. Boy, the stick would break. Give me another stick. Bang, bang, bang. Whoa, it was crazy, man. And it's categorically haram, these things. Right, so what is going on? Is it forbidden to hit your children if they don't pray? You see, I would say that this hadith, if you try to take that hadith literally, you have misunderstood the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I find that very disappointing that a person over faith would attack their own child. That's, to me, so absurd. It is the antithesis of faith to attack your child because of your iman. Are you faithful? Since God had given you so much iman, if He gave you a little bit of aql as well, intellect, that would have helped. Ayo taqwa. Taqwa ka taqaza. This is the demand of taqwa. So that's ridiculous if your faith makes you beat up your own child. You see, these things were just trying to teach you the kind of importance something had, that you would inculcate the hopefully the passion for something, the love for something, that they will, children emulate their parents anyway. When parents pray, children pray, they do stuff, and if they don't, they will start praying later on, and if they do, but to teach them through, look, this is what we do to express gratitude, is the way to encourage, to show it's dear to you, because children, especially when they're young, they want the parents to be pleased with them, and they like what the parents like. So, but to kind of scare them into that, I think it's ironically so childish, and if anything, the antithesis of Islam. Somebody said they saw my Nanaji show. You're doing it. I did, right. I did, some of my jokes were slightly, I think, adult version. So I think he edited. I did say to him, look, I think these jokes might be a bit too much, so you can edit them. I think he did in the end. He was like, drop that. Will you invite Mehreen Baig to your podcast? Mehreen Baig. Is that the one from that Muslim show? The Queen Marine? Is that her, or is this a different one? Yeah, who's a teacher or something. Sure. I mean, I'm not quite sure what she does now and what we'd chat about, but message me, let me know what she's up to, and yeah, why not? You can ask her. Right, so super chat. Otherwise, I want my my super chat. With my super chat, I can't see my super chat. Oh, there it is. Rock Black says, Mufti, regarding Zakat, there is a specific amount until you are obligated to pay zakat. But shouldn't it be on every country a different amount? Um, that's interesting. Never really thought about it like that. I suppose you could. Okay, look, I'm gonna share something with you. Right, zakat. In all honesty, the laws of zakat, especially when it comes to money, the monetary side of things, they weren't really laid out so clearly in Islam. Because the Arabs, although they had obviously gold and silver, but they heavily traded with livestock and they bartered. Now, gold and silver were not their main commodities. So, where you have a lot of teachings about, in every 5 camels, fi khamsim min al-ibli shat, you give 1 sheep and you do this, and for this many cows, one can give this, or these kind of ahadith that you will find, you don't really the hadith to do with things like how much nisab, what is the kind of the trigger amount, the kind of the trigger switch for zakat. So once your savings reach a certain amount, it is triggered that zakat now becomes applicable. So people will say, 20 dinars, which was 200 dirhams, because in the Prophet's time, a dinar is a gold piece, and it comes from the Roman denari or denarius, and a dirham was a silver piece, and 10 silver pieces equated to 1 golden piece. So, and the dirham comes from the Persian Sassanids drachma, because they were more, they kind of had more of the silver thing. So now this teaching that, in 200 dirhams or in 20 dinars, then your zakat starts, the nisab starts and so on. You'll be surprised that there is no real sahih hadith to do with any of this stuff. In fact, all the hadith are weak, but the scholars just accepted it because they needed a system. And it was better than nothing, because otherwise they would be totally inventing it. So one could argue somebody may have even invented that because it's a weak hadith. But it's just a system that was needed. So, yeah. Otherwise, it seems to be that although zakat obviously is important about giving, it's difficult sometimes from the pure Quranic literature, the pure Quranic reading. Sometimes it's difficult clearly discerning zakat from charity, just giving in charity. It's difficult because even the verse of the Quran, innama sadaqat, is the verse used that people say this is where zakat is given. And it seems to, because zakat means a purification. So what you definitely see in the Prophet's time, there is this understanding of obligated charity, giving in charity. But the specificities are still slightly vague in some things. They're not that clear. And certain people are giving zakat, but is everybody giving it in the Prophet's lifetime? It definitely doesn't seem so. Later on, it solidifies. So in Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's time, it definitely becomes the livestock and all of this definitely becomes a thing that everybody is now mandated to give. And then within the generations that come, the money thing becomes a thing because more money appears, it becomes a more important commodity. But it didn't really, there's no Sahih Hadith for it. So it's interesting to know that. But I agree with you that these things should be region, like they should be relevant to your own region. Yeah, so somebody says give zakat, it's mandatory. No, of course it is. But what I'm trying to say is at some level of reading in the Quran, it's difficult discerning, like delineating, demarcating, like drawing a line between charity and zakat. Like, is it just one are they the same thing? Does it just mean giving charity? Now, I know the general understanding is it doesn't, and I'm not saying it does mean just giving charity. I'm not saying that. There is this thing of zakat. I'm not denying zakat. I am saying it is there, but to be fair, in all fairness, if we're just being fair, in the Quran, the Quranic reading of it, it's difficult discerning what are they the same. It's not that clear. And in the Prophet's lifetime itself, because zakat is only 1 year before the Prophet passes, so in that year, how many things were established for zakat? You know, you think about it. It's the Prophet only received zakat 1 year. That's it. And then, in fact, within so many months, it's not even a full year. Within so many months, he passes away. So, how many rules of zakat were established, and how many people were paying zakat to the Prophet? Definitely not all of them. I would argue maybe, you know, out of the whole of the Arabian Peninsula, I would assume maybe about 40% were paying something like that. They weren't. I would assume that the majority of Arabia was not paying. Um, but, or maybe 50-50 if person was, but it becomes difficult again distinguishing between what they were giving as gifts and zakat. Because, so yeah, it's a complicated topic really, but yeah, okay, that's the raw material. Then you fast forward a couple of generations, like let's say 150 years after the Prophet, and you've got set systems in place. Okay, with this, you know, this is going to be like this. You got camels, you got wheat. We're going to do it like this. We're going to do this. We're going to take it from here. We're going to do that. If you've got gold, we're going to do this. This is what triggers the zakat. There's complete systems in place, fully developed systems. I'm not saying the systems are problematic. I'm just saying we must remember that a lot of the systematization part is really man-made. It's just done by scholars to set a system, because not having a system meant they couldn't control things. Whereas if you have a system, you know exactly what to ask and you know exactly what to record. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, so based on that, making adjustments with zakat, like somebody saying, look, shouldn't it be more regional? Shouldn't it be like this? That makes sense to me. I'm just saying. It does make sense to me. Okay, cool. Let's see. I've had this sore throat, people. So, could paying taxes cover the obligation of zakat? Yeah, and Sami, shukran for the super chat. I do believe that paying taxes could today, if a person paid taxes and throughout a year made it a practice, a personal practice to give charity sporadically on different occasions, just in life, that they do give charity, they make it a personal aim, I feel that suffices for zakat. But if a person doesn't give any charity, then I would, I think, no, I think the person should, there is an obligation to give, be involved in charity at some points throughout the year. It doesn't have to be like every week, every month. If it'd be nice if it's every month, but, and it doesn't have to be so huge, but they could give a certain amount here. But they do have an art of giving to them. That is in my understanding, and if you pay taxes, it would suffice for zakat. Sore throat. Is there a fever, loss of taste and smell? No. I've had my coronavirus in the beginning. Right, so, right, what's going on? People, what's the... I was going to cover a few things, actually. can't see. Anyway, I can't see it. Cool. Must have scribbled something. I can't. Mufti, your view on giving sadaqah as protection against something bad. Sure, why not? Why not? I mean, look, always think of it like this. The better you are as a person, you will, in that sense, betterness will come to you. Okay? If you give, Allah will give you. So, irhamu man fil ardi yarhamkum man fis sama. Have compassion on people and mercy on the earth, and the one above will have mercy on you. So I feel that, of course, and I have at times personally experienced this. And I think charity begins at home, in that sense, although charity is used in English almost as a dirty word sometimes. Oh my God, charity case or give charity. But, it's not like the beauty about the Arabic word, sadaqah, is it's not a negative word. It's not a dirty word. It's linked with the word sidq, truthfulness. It's linked with the word sadiq, a friend. Sadaqa, friendship. It's a very positive word. And sadaqah begins at home. It begins with the family. I would say if your family members or you feel that they are in need, begin with them, help them financially, and then pan out. Like you can spread out other things, people maybe you see things like this, help people. And I've seen at times that I might be like, oh, something's happening, and I'm thinking, oh my God, and I've given in a state of, like in a hadith, it says that وَهُوَ يَخْشَى الشُّحْ. Shuh is like kind of this kind of greed, or this kind of it's not, greed is a bad word, but like this kind of, you're fearing, sorry, not yakhsha shuh, yakhsha al-faqar, that you're fearing poverty, in the sense that you could have, like, let's say I've got all these finances to cover, and now I've got, let's say an opportunity to give some money, and I'm thinking, oh, but I don't know, because right now I've got all of this. And I found that sometimes when you give in those situations, and it's kind of testing of your character, it's testing you. I have seen, and you see, I can't demonstrate cause and effect here, but I can just say that you feel it, that what comes to you suddenly and, unexpectedly is so many times more. Honestly, I would definitely say that. So, and there's a whole art to this. And so I would definitely support that. Right. Rojan Mahmoud, what are your thoughts on nowadays Muslim scholars completely lacking secular education? Yeah, but of course. And then sometimes they don't. They have the secular education. If I have a clip here, example of, I think
some Muslims can have doubts about.
The last
How many brothers
major
have 2 wives?
holdout
Raise your
on
hand if you have more than one wife.
LGBT is the Muslim world. And the
Any brothers
powers
have
that
more than one
be
wife?
in the West are asking one
Whole
question.
masjid, not one brother. Wallahi,
How do we
sad.
get Muslims
Sad.
to accept homosexuality and the gay and trans lifestyle? The answer to this question is clear for them, because they have used a strategy to get America and Europe to accept LGBT. 2 gay media strategists, Marshall Kirk and Hunter Madsen.
Daniel Haqiqatju is somebody who is educated in secular studies. He's been to Harvard, I believe. So, yet, here is a prime example of somebody so obsessed. I don't know what it is with the Americans, Some Americans are so obsessed with the LGBTQI, whatever the initials are, right? They're so obsessed with them. Like, oh my God, Islam is the last bastion, the final frontier to withstand homosexuality, Muslims. Have you been to any Muslim countries? Oh my God, trust me, they are not the last. They have long embraced this tradition, I'll tell you. You've got no idea. Don't know what kind of a cuckoo world you're living in, right? So, because it's so, I don't know what he's on about. Saudi Arabia, bloody hell, it's a gay haven. You know, what is he on about? I don't know what, these countries are ridiculous. You know, the Taliban, Afghanistan, the whole Bachabazi thing. You've got, in many of the Muslim countries, the most searched after porn, the most porn searches for gay porn comes from places like Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. And, you know, some of the most hardcore Islamist kind of people and ideas and cultures where they are in that sense. That's where you're going to find this. Okay, but that's not my point of discussion. My point of discussion is, why are these people so obsessed? You know, everything is like, oh, the LGBTQ are after us. The LGBT. Man, just calm down. Calm yourself. Look, to me, the way I see these things, look, people who are going to be gay are going to be gay. Okay. It doesn't, look, they're here and they're here to stay. Now, if that's their way of life, then as Imam Malik said, that's their way of life. Who are we to interfere? What's our problem? At the end of the day, if somebody wants something done to them in a particular way, chalo, you know, al-junun funun. You know, there's, or as the Arabic poem says, وَلِلنَّاسِ فِي مَا يَعْشَقُونَ مَذَاهِبُ. That aptly fits here. It says, and people have in matters of what they love, their ways. Yeah. But madhahib is also a kind of place you go. So it kind of fits a bit better here. But the point is, yeah, so look, just because, let's say 10 people there are gay, it doesn't turn you gay. I don't know why people are so worried. They're like, oh my God, this must be contagious. It's like, calm down. Yeah. You're going on, always just like every single time, just ranting on and on about people being gay. It's like, this is, in just psychology 101, this is symptomatic, I'm just saying, from a psychoanalytic perspective, of people who actually are most likely to be themselves homosexual, that are that, rattled by it. I hate to say that, but Danny boy, this one, you. Because anyhow, after all of this, toba. If anyhow after all of this, Danny boy comes out of the closet and says something like he's gay, I'm just saying, I'm not saying if you're watching this, I'm not saying you are going to do, but anyhow you do that. Toba. This one not nice, my friend. This one. Right, so but you're right. This Rujan said, what about people who are the opposite? They completely lack. Somebody said it's not projection. Yeah, you see, what it is that in psychology, they will find that people who, what they tend to do is they are chastising their inner demons. So people often hate something strongly that subconsciously reminds them of something within them. This is often like Jungian analysis and psychoanalysis and other things often will speak of this. This is nothing new, really. And people will project and then chastise that demon. So something I hate, I may project it onto somebody else who has it, or see it, amplify it, and then it's not that I'm projecting the thing, because in this case, the other person is already gay. He's not projecting the homosexuality on them. But what he's doing is he's chastising his own demons vicariously, virtually. Okay. Right. So what is going on, people? What about pedophilia? We normalize that too. Well, I hope we don't. That is just absolutely, utterly unacceptable and disgusting. That I've got a clip here, actually, a discussion. If I can see it.
Did Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, marry a child? Was this a normal practice 1400 years ago? What was the wisdom behind it? According to authentic sources, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, married Aisha when she was 6 years old, and the marriage
Now I'd
was
like you to take a look at
consummated
this.
after she turned 9. However, it is important to understand things in their historical context. For instance, it would be silly to ask, what kind of milk did they drink 1400 years ago? Or to ask, what kind of engine they used to have back then? Therefore, one must understand that things 1400 years ago were very different from now. Time have changed, and so human have. 1400 years ago, it was very common for women to marry at a young age. It is a historical fact that girls from ages 9 to 14 were married off in Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. For example, St. Augustine, 350 AD, he married a 10-year-old. King Richard II, 1400 AD, he married a 7-year-old. Henry VIII, 1500 AD, he married a 6-year-old.
Right, so as you can see there, they're saying King Richard II, King Henry VIII, and blah, blah, blah. Right, what is utterly absurd and so ridiculously stupid about this is people thinking they are doing Islam a favor by saying, well, do you know King Richard II did this? Do you know King Henry VIII did this? Well, he chopped the heads off so many of his wives or whatever, right? Why on earth? It is blasphemous, I feel, as a Muslim, to be comparing the Prophet to King Henry VIII or King Richard II or whoever it is. Why are you comparing these people? Why are you to the Prophet? That makes it okay just because King Henry VIII did it. Who the hell is King Henry VIII? Just because King Richard II did it. This, what is so dumb? I tell you, this is so stupid and gets on my nerves. They think this is some kind of a legitimate argument. Like, I'm going to get into a debate with an Islamophobe and he's going to say, oh, your prophet was a pedophile because you're saying that. And I'm going to say, ha. Well, actually, King Richard II and King Henry VIII, they'll be like, I don't give a rat. They'll be like, I don't give a damn about King Henry VIII. They'll be like, well, he was a pedophile as well. The point is, they don't care. This is not your... You see, this is where Muslims are so dumb sometimes. They're so used to Muslim polemics. So in Muslim debates, the way they win a debate is what they'll do is they'll try to quote an opinion of that imam. So somebody trying to debate me is going to try, which they do all the time. But a Maliki scholar said it. You're stuck now. Because you're Maliki. This is a Maliki scholar. So imagine I'm saying something. I'm Maliki. I follow the Maliki school, the school of Medina. They're going to say, but, let's catch him out. Imam Malik said this. Caught you out. So when people are debating Salafis, they will say sometimes, Ibn Taymiyyah said this. Caught you out. Now you can't come back. So the Muslims get so lost in this dumb bubble they think the world operates like that. Okay, newsflash. Nobody gives a damn about your stupid polemics because in the real world, nobody plays that game. Okay, that's just you and your two loser Muslim friends in a corner sitting there just playing this stupid game of how to debate. That's not how it works in the real world. Okay, here by you trying to say ah ha 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 ha, but your English ah ha 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 ha. So there was a person in English history who did this ha, and they're thinking, you what, mate? Like, sorry, are you drunk? Like, I don't give a damn if somebody 300 years ago in England did this. It's wrong. They're not bound by these stupid little by rules that you guys have made, these in-house rules. So, first of all, this is the dumbest, most stupid attempt to ever save face for the Prophet by trying to compare him to Richard II and King Henry VIII, right? That is, as far I personally find it blasphemous and an insult and an affront to the honor of the Prophet ﷺ that you're trying to redeem him by trying to say, oh, but look at King Henry VIII. Because nothing to do with King Henry VIII, okay? And nobody claims King Henry VIII was a prophet from God. And people that may admire, let's say, King Richard II, they don't say he was a prophet from God. They don't say he was infallible. They don't say, oh, he couldn't make mistakes. You know, whether they murdered people will just say, yeah, okay, they murdered people. And so I just want to get that out the way. The other thing is, the Prophet did not marry Aisha at such a young age. You need to get off your stupid horse, whatever it is that you're so caught up on, just because your sectarian scholars won't back down from their position, right? You need to think for yourself, see the evidence, and realize that, look, it's true. This hadith is fabricated. It's been fabricated by Hisham. All the people that transmit it are Iraqi. All the people that are transmitting this hadith at a lower level, where the people from the books get it from, are all Iraqi. How is this? Aisha radiallahu anha never lived in Iraq. Where is this? It's all coming from Hisham. And then some of them are projecting their chains. They're making them up. It is how can this be? Like, you tell me, were they not Muslims in Mecca and Medina 200 years after the Prophet? Of course they were. Why is it when this hadith starts to get popularized about 200 years after the Prophet, every single transmitter is just an Iraqi? How does that make sense? That's like, there's an incident in, let's say, this is how it is almost, because back then, see, travel wasn't as easy. So you could take the example to be like this. Let's say there's an incident that occurs in Germany, in Berlin. But yet, generations later, people want to find out about it. And the only people, let's say there's 50 people that speak about it. There's 100 people that speak about it. But the 100 people that speak about it are all from Birmingham, UK. All of them. No German 100 years later is speaking about it. No, somebody closer to Germany. Everybody as far, as distant as the UK and Birmingham. This particular place, particular region. This is who the transmitters are. Everybody. There could be 100 of us, but we're all from here. Now, are you stupid not to see that, wait a minute, alarm bells should be ringing? How can that be? Right, so 200 years later, the only people who seem to know this story all happen to live in Iraq. Cha. This is the problem. But the reason they don't accept this is because if they accept this, the Salafis, the Wahhabis, and the kind of like you see, like the kind of neo-Wahhabis as well, the kind of like the Deobandis, The problem with them is they would have to admit that the hadith literature is corrupted. And that is a problem, because to them, that could then cause later problems. Now, yes, some other sects, like the Brailwis, don't openly criticize it either, but that's not because, you see, they're so worried about the hadith literature. That's because they don't feel they have the competence to criticize hadith. Because groups like the sects, like the Brailwi sect, are just usually very poorly trained in hadith. So they feel that this forte is it's above our pay grade to speak about Bukhari and stuff like this, because they're not even known for their studies on Bukhari. So whereas the Deobandis are, the Salafis are, but they are invested in that project. So to them, it's like, well, it's not worth it. So they will never do that. They will never turn away from their project. I tell you, they will, for the love of their teachers, to not disagree with their teachers and their sect, they will throw the Prophet under the bus. And they will just make up some, oh, it doesn't matter, she was a little, it doesn't matter, oh, it's okay. But they will not for once say their own teachers were wrong. This is the kind of blind-hearted following that they do. Their hearts are sealed, I'm telling you. These people, they will not have the courage to say that their teachers have got it wrong, but they will, in essence, accept that the Prophet is, chalo, he was doing it. It doesn't, look at that. Like, they're prepared to not compromise the honor of their teachers and their sect, but the honor of the Prophet isn't that important to them. They'll just justify it. They'll just be like, So this is where I tell people that, look, when your scholars tell you this, completely ignore them. They're chatting it. Absolutely nothing but blind dogma. They're just sheep. In this statement, they are just sheep to their own sect and scholars. They will never disagree. Never. So yeah, I hope I had to kind of say that, because these things just disappoint me whenever I see them. I think, yeah. But you can just take a look at it and you see it. Every single person Iraqi? Come on. Acha. You're Iraq. Where was the Prophet? Where is Iraq? Acha. Yeah, so right, so what's going on? Some questions. Have I missed some? How can she claim Aisha is imagination then? I don't know what that means. Right, so right, what is going on? Somebody saying confused. Right, my guns are out. You're doing it, Zeba. You're doing it. Right, people, do not be speaking nonsense in the comments, please. No kind of insults. Right, so what else is there? Right, let's go to... I did have here, if I can get to it. Where's my...
रात की धड़कन जब तक जारी रहती है
I forgot I had this here.
नहीं हम जिम्मेदारी रहती है
वाह
जिम्मेदारी रहती है और जब से तूने हल्की हल्की बातें की यार तबीयत भारी भारी रहती है जुबान तो खोल नजर तो मिला जवाब तो दे मैं कितनी बार लुटा हूँ मुझे हिसाब तो दे तेरे बदन की लिखावट में है उतार चढ़ाओ मैं तुझको कैसे पढ़ूंगा मुझे किताब तो दे तेरा सवाल है साथी ये जिंदगी क्या है जवाब देता हूँ पहले मुझे शराब तो दे अड़े थे जिद पे कि सूरज बना के छोड़ेंगे,
He passed away.
पसीने छूट गए एक दिया बनाने। मेरी निगाह में वो शख्स आदमी भी नहीं जिसे लगा है जमाना खुदा बनाने में।
वाह वाह।
कि जितने अपने थे सब पराये थे, जितने अपने थे सब पराये थे। हम हवा को गले लगाए थे, हवा को गले लगाए थे। जितनी कसमें थीं सब थी शर्मिंदा, जितने वादे थे सर झुकाए थे। जितने आंसू थे, जितने आंसू थे सब थे बेगाने, जितने मेहमान थे बिन बुलाए थे।
अरे वाह।
सब किताबें पढ़ी पढ़ाई थी, सारे किस्से सुने सुनाए थे। एक बंजर जमी के सीने में, एक बंजर जमी के सीने में मैंने कुछ आसमां उगाए थे, मैंने कुछ आसमां उगाए थे। सिर्फ 2 घूंट प्यास की खातिर उम्र भर धूप में नहाए थे। हाशिए पर खड़े हुए हैं हम, हाशिए पर खड़े हुए हैं हम, हमने खुद हाशिए बनाए थे।
Wah, wah, wah. This I forgot I had here. This was Rahat Indori, who'd passed away recently. Rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah. Wallahi. You know, I feel that poets are the last bastion in the Muslim world for human compassion and ethics. Seriously. And kind of free thought without restriction. It really lies in the dominion belongs to the shu'ara. So absolutely, Allah, laqad kana min al-insaniyati bimakan. Right, people, but what I was going to speak about is actually this. So we've got here, if I'm trying to. So I don't know if you've seen the David Woods. I'll try and refresh it if it'll. Yeah, so you can see here. This is what happened.
John, do you really think?
That's the Quran.
Do you really think we can't escalate? Do you? My goodness. Do you really think that you want to go this route?
Now, I will say that I found that utterly disgusting, despicable, and it's a shame because I was just asked last week, and I did comment about this on Twitter. I was asked last week about David Woods, and I said, look, I haven't really watched much of him, but I've seen that he's been respectful to me, and I respect him for that. Now, within a couple of days, I saw this clip, and I was really, honestly, if anything, I was just disappointed. These things, ripping the Quran, it doesn't, look, me as a person, it doesn't hurt me, like offend me, like as Muslims, I don't feel we should get kind of like enraged. But if anything, it just disappoints. It hurts from the angle that it disappoints you. That, because look, you can tear the Quran. It's not going to destroy, it's not going to harm a single hair or it's not going to harm an atom of Islam. Islam has stood the test of time. It is here and it is here to stay. Now, the Quran it is not protected in the sense it is not protected by just being printed. It does not reside or exist relying on print, although obviously that's a huge part of how we access the Quran. The Quran is memorized by people. Literally millions around the globe have memorized the Quran. it's not. It's something that we hold obviously dear to us constitutionally. Yeah. So whether people know the ins or outs of the Quran is a different discussion, whether they know the individual verses. But the Quran as al-Kitab is held very dear. Now, if somebody takes a mushaf and says, "Oh, I'm going to set it on fire," Tiga, okay, you're going to do that. Like, it doesn't harm me. It doesn't harm the Ummah. It doesn't harm Islam. What we should not do, and anybody about to or reacting in that way, this is my words to them first and foremost. Do not ever become enraged with these things. Okay, anger is the most predictable of all human emotions. Okay, do not allow yourself to become angry. If anything, disappointed. Okay, because you see, and why it was disappointing for me is because these things kill dialogue then. Because you realize that there's no respect left now. That this is, so based on that, it kills, like it ruins any bridges of dialogue and communication. And in all honesty, we wouldn't burn any book. Like, I wouldn't just, I could have a storybook. I wouldn't just rip that and tear it up and do stuff like this. It wouldn't, what point is that? And then and this is obviously a sacred book. So, and I do want to be fair. Look, I said last week that I always advise people, and this is how I've been taught as well, that we respect religious symbols with respect and dignity. Now, somebody did say to me, yeah, but you have satirized certain things and certain beliefs and certain peoples, and I have. But I'm speaking about symbols. Like actual, like if somebody was to say this isn't, but let's say this is the Torah, for example, or this it happens to be a something of a Hindu scripture book or something like the actual symbols that people have. It's akin to the way in this day and age, let's say we might take the mick out of a certain country. You might say, oh, this country is weird, it's like this, or look at America, it thinks it can do this, ha ha ha, or look at Russia is like this, or you might say, oh, look at Pakistan, oh my God, it's like, then you're taking the mick out of it. Now, firstly, I feel that humor has no bounds and a person can take the mick out of whatever they want. I do accept that. But you see, that's saying one thing, and then let's say I was to take the mick out of Pakistan or to take the mick out of Russia or America or China. But then imagine somebody was to burn the flag. These are two separate things. They're not perceived the same. It is seen as a very, like, obviously these are seen as symbols of actual things that the people, like when you're taking the mick out of a country, people will not like you for it, and some people might, and they'll understand you're trying to be funny or you're trying to do this or whatever, but they will still see a huge difference between that and you taking a flag of that country and setting it on fire. It takes it to a whole new level. So I just wanted to clarify that, look, I absolutely advise, first of all, Muslims and people generally, that we have to always respect symbols. Okay. It's the way of the world. Okay. This is how, and in turn, our symbols are respected as well. But it's just out of humanity and civility. Secondly, express my deep kind of disappointment at David Woods for doing that. And really at apostate prophet as well for laughing his head off. I do believe, I could be wrong, but from what I've heard, Abdullah Samir had no idea that was going to happen. And he didn't actually approve of it, although I don't, I just watched that clip. I don't know whether he actually expresses it on that clip but I heard, Allahu A'lam, maybe I've heard wrong, but I've heard that he didn't approve of that and he didn't know that was going to happen. And in the clip I saw, I haven't watched, I don't know what happens after that, but the clip I saw, he doesn't kind of laugh at it or anything. But Apostate Prophet is kind of laughing his head off that, oh my God, he's ripping the Quran. And I feel that this is exactly the problem. Okay. And this is, and then you've got what Muhammad Hijab. But I want to say here as well about Muhammad Hijab. Look, listen, part of this is a triggered reaction to what Muhammad Hijab has been doing. So look, I want to say here that, look, this is growing because it's like tit for tat. You see, like you're kind of taunting them, they're taunting you. You start bringing their family into it. You start saying to, sexual stuff at his wife. He now doesn't know about your wife to say it back to you. So he thinks, well, what do you hold sacred to you? You hold the Quran sacred. I know, let's rip the Quran up. You see, so there is a certain responsibility coming back on you, on Muhammad Hijab, because you are triggering these people. Allah says, "La tasubbu alladhina yad'una min dunillah." Do not swear at their gods. Why? فَيَسُبُّ اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. That these people will then curse Allah. That this is because this is what you're doing. I know that you're not telling them and you wouldn't ever be content with that happening, but you are triggering this. So I did play a speech of Muhammad Hijab last week.
Some Muslims can have doubts about it. I don't get it. But then you have Muslims say, I have got doubts, I don't know, and this can't. Be quiet. Have some guts. Be a man. Stop being a slave of the Orientalists. Come on. It's an inferiority complex. Why are you, man? This is embarrassment. Wallahi, some people have been calling me and giving me some emails. Brother, I have doubts. What doubts, man? What embarrassment is that? Why you have doubts? Why? So tell me now. You find any manuscript in the whole wide world? In the whole wide world? Or you
I played this last week, but I think the volume was playing up.
What does it do for me? Nothing. If the harf possibly was abrogated, possibly. Khalas. What? What's the problem? I don't understand. Why you have doubts? What kind of man are you anyway? Huh? What kind of woman are you? What kind of Muslim are you? What kind of Muslim are you? Let's be honest about the situation. Putting doubts in that one's heart and that one's mind and this one's soul. Be quiet, man. This is all in our tradition. We have we have a chain of narration. Yes, we have a chain of narration. Tell me now how an Orientalist has any argument against the Quran, the preservation of Quran. Tell me how. Orientalist, you have not read anything. David Wood, you have not read a damn thing. All you're reading is all you get your information from is me. I'm your teacher, boy. And all of you people, I'm your teacher, Orientalists. Wallahi, we are your teachers. And you know it. Don't pretend to be our teacher. You have nothing on us. You know nothing. Don't ever come and step up to us, wallahi. All of you. And I know you're listening to me. I'm shaking. You need to use the toilet now. I know you do. Now listen carefully. Listen carefully. And I want you to all listen. I know the enemies of Islam are listening to me. Let me take my glasses off. Let me take my glasses. If you saw what I look like now, believe me, a lot of the enemies of Islam would be very scared. Just like Apus was very scared. Many of them would be very scared because, when we come with the truth and the haqq, when we come with the truth and the haqq and all of the details like this, khalas, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Listen carefully to all those people out there, the Christians. How dare you talk about preservation? It actually makes me angry. Listen to what he said. Not a stupid running around the street, speaker's corner and talking nonsense. No chain. Don't speak to me. Don't speak about Islam. Don't ever open your mouth about Islam again. Wallahi, don't open your mouth. Don't ever open your mouth. You have no chain. And a lot of you are losing faith, and you shouldn't. I know the Christians are on this chat. Lose faith. I tell you, lose faith. It's better for you. Because it's a nonsense. You have no chain of narration. No chain. And you're comparing with all audacity because of the...
So, wow. So my point is that, look, so somebody, I read in a comment, somebody saying that Muhammad Hijab may have apologized for part of this. I don't know if he has. If he has, okay, good. But right, the point is that, you see, this is what triggers this. Don't trigger these people like that. Don't kind of attack them like that. Don't attack their wives and stuff like this. Look, this isn't what Islam teaches anyway. What I would say is attack their arguments. Make their arguments look silly. Make their arguments look dumb. That's fine. But if it gets like personal, because all that's gonna happen, they're gonna come out now. They're gonna do something stupid, like silly, like try and rip the Quran. Now, some idiot's gonna get obviously so enraged. You never know what he might do to them. And this is not what Islam teaches. Okay, so even though that's really, they need to think about their own actions. They're responsible. If you're gonna do something so stupid, you need to think about what you're doing. It's a sacrilege to what over 1 billion people hold sacred. But still, let's not trigger something like that either. So cool. I just wanted to make that clear. Right now, another topic, people. Another topic. So we've got something a bit more unfortunately dark and unfortunate, that what Israel has been doing for almost the most part of 2 weeks now. It's been bombing, dropping crazy bombs on Gaza. Not many people, as you can see there, speaking about it. But amidst all of that, you have got we've got something that a lot of people have been speaking about, and that is the UAE and the Israel deal, which has been brokered recently to recognize Israel. And with it, you will see, if I can just bring up here, right, just one moment. Right, Trump is expecting KSA. I don't know if that's true, but he's expecting KSA to sign up to that deal as well pretty soon. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that is. So whether they will or not, Allahu A'lam. But that's just to... So what is going on here? What are my thoughts about this? So first and foremost, my du'as, heartfelt du'as, my thoughts go out to all those people who've been, unfortunately, who have suffered first of all, the loss of life, or the loss of loved ones, or just harm and injury as a result of what's been going on in the past 2 weeks. So, may Allah make things easy. Right, as far as the UAE thing is concerned, a lot of people had been messaging me as well. Mufti, you speak about this. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to say about people are going at Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya and they're going at Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. I do think that's a bit unfair, to be honest. I think that's not a bit. That is, I do think it's unfair. Because I don't think, in all honesty, the kind of king, the ruler of UAE, really gives a crap. I don't really think he even cares about what Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya has to say about anything. Whether he may pretend on certain things, but they don't really care. I don't think they will just have people, hold a council on something. And I did hear that, this is what I've heard from sources close to Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya, that Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya wasn't actually pleased about the treaty, but he had just agreed in saying that when the king has passed a ruling, then that king's ruling, so the UAE, his ruling is to be honored. Not that he was happy with what the kind of details were. In fact, this is what I've heard. Allahu A'lam. I don't know, whatever. I've just heard this. But I do think, okay, putting that aside, I do think, look, the king doesn't really care. These people don't care about what ulama or scholars or whatever. And I don't think Hamza Yusuf had anything to do with it at all. So I think just dragging his name into it, I don't think is fair. This is just my opinion. As far as this actual ruling, what do I think about it? Well, look, it's Israel is not right. Okay, Israel is at a state level, it is a terrorist at a state level. Okay, this is not anti-Semitism. I'm not against Jewish people. I'm not against people, whatever ethnicity they are. The truth is, at a state level, it has committed war crimes. And this is something the UN are aware of. This is something people have written about. Many people have written about this. Noam Chomsky, so many other academics have written. Finkelstein, so many people have highlighted the atrocities that the state of Israel has conducted against vulnerable, really, for the most part, very vulnerable Palestinians. So I don't think this is going to really do anything. Like, I understand the UAE's proposal is that by presenting this, we can broker some peace in the region. But in all honesty, if you look at since this deal has been signed, what peace has there been? There's been like almost 2 weeks just bombardment. Okay, they claim that Hamas has been setting off these incendiary kind of like balloons, helium balloons that kind of go and catch fire somewhere. And they said, we're going to fire. We've now got a policy that any fire is to be treated as a rocket. So we will retaliate by any incendiary device. Like if you send anything with a fire over here, like let's say technically it could be like petrol bomb, chuck a petrol bomb, let's say, into Israel, if the Palestinians did, then that is technically to be treated, any fire is to be treated as a missile. So what that means is this projectile, this is a missile, a flying kind of fire, so it will be retaliated with a missile. Sorry, it's not funny, but it's the crazy absurdity that makes one kind of like laugh in just confusion of what the other person is saying here. Like you're like, like what are you actually just saying? Like, do you hear yourself? Like you're saying, well, missile is a projectile, is something that comes flying, and any fire so these balloons, helium balloons, which come and they're incendiary, so they cause fire. So it will now be treated as a missile, and we will retaliate with a state of the art actual missile, highly destructive. I mean, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And it is just a shame for the sheer loss of life. And I don't know how the Palestinians function. Honestly, I can't even imagine. I can't. I would be lying if I said I could even imagine how they actually still function. Because as a person, I would assume one would just have given up on everything. But yeah, I don't think the UAE thing is a solution. I don't think so, because it clearly hasn't brokered any peace. If we're going to be honest, it hasn't brokered anything. No peace has happened. And I don't really think it matters. But the truth is, there does need to be a solution. That is true as well. Another very hard truth is that Israel is here to stay. I think we as Muslims have to accept that Israel is here to stay. And as unfortunate as it is, and as, it's like they say, put a stone on your heart in certain languages, the proverb is, or in this case, to kind of like, we have to bite the bullet and take the dagger, and we have to just accept that it is what it is. You see, Israel is not going to go away, and it is established, and it is there. So now the question is, how do you move forward? So I would argue that I would actually say, I know nobody would accept this, because I would say the ideal thing would be to have then a two-state solution, which I think would never happen, because Israel, in its state of mind, would never accept it, because they know the moment we accept that, they will just, the assumption, sorry, not that they know, the assumption is if we give them a state where they can fly in, fly out, do whatever they want, they will just set up so much armory, and then they'll just attack us. So we're never going to let that happen. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, so ideally, it ought to become two-state solution. But I feel that that's never going to happen. I then would argue for a complete exile of all Palestinians. I would say that all Palestinians should leave Palestine. And it should be facilitated for them. By Palestine, I mean the Gaza Strip and the parts that are kind of blocked in clearly by Israel. Now, I feel that they should be relocated and comfortably, with compensation and accommodation and education paid for in different parts of the Arab world, Arabic-speaking world. So acclimatizing is not difficult for them, and they shouldn't be set up as ghettos or clusters, but kind of spread out. And there's many Arab countries in the world, and I'm sure that that could even happen, and Israel probably would even be happy to pay for it, because the amount of money it spends on even bombing them is, these things don't come cheap. So, but the problem with this thought that, or this kind of a solution, is one, people will coward shame the Palestinians. You see, you know the way people do things, like they shame one another. You hear things like I think I was discussing the other day, where people will kind of shame, and sometimes men shaming men, women shaming women. There's this kind of thing of like, oh, so you have these terms sometimes like slut shaming and this kind of stuff. Muslims do that to Palestinians. Muslims do it. What they do is they guilt trip them, that you guys have to stay there and you have to put up with this, because this is the Holy Land you're defending. Somebody said like Arab countries wouldn't even take them, but this is what I'm saying. If there was a deal to, not as refugees, see, they won't take refugees, but if they came in at a level, like if you had a middle class kind of, and they were spread out, spread thin, so you don't create ghettos. So if you had a middle class apartment fully paid for in another city, like let's say in Tunis somewhere, and you've got compensation, you've got money in the bank, you can just move right in and continue to live a lifestyle like that. Countries would accept you if you came in with money and it was brokered as a deal. They won't accept you as a refugee because you're just a burden to them. So yeah, but coming back to my point, that Muslims guilt trip these Palestinians. Secondly, there's a lot of politics, there's Arab countries are happy that Palestine is between them and Israel, because it creates a buffer zone. Because if Israel was to just take over that completely, then they would be the next target for Israel. So they would rather that the next guy is getting beaten up and they're just at a safe distance saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, as opposed to saying, uh-oh, again Saleh. It's like, so Jordan and these other countries are glad that there is this buffer zone. So there's a lot of politics going on here, people. But I honestly feel that, and even this whole thing, I know people won't agree with me on the whole Jerusalem thing, but to me, Jerusalem was never that sacred anyway, from an Islamic viewpoint. It was something, the real glorification, like it was there, as I've mentioned before, it was there, it was associated with prior prophets, but it wasn't seen as this mega, the way it's seen today. And the glorification of Jerusalem began with al-Malik ibn Marwan, the caliph who creates this rival city to Mecca and Medina, to kind of, especially to Mecca, not to Medina, but to distract people from Abdullah ibn Zubayr and to allow them to come to a pilgrimage in the rock, Dome of the Rock. So this, and then ever since, people have, they've added stuff, and then it's become this really holy site. But even if, look, let's go with the argument. I know people ain't going to agree with me on that, and I've never believed that was Masjid al-Aqsa anyway. Masjid al-Aqsa, in my understanding, would have been, the farthest point would have been in the heavens. Because al-Aqsa, the farthest point, is not Jerusalem. Why is that the farthest point on earth? So the Al-Aqsa would have been in the heavens, in my understanding. But even if you take it, let's say, you take the fact that Jerusalem is a really holy site in Islam, let's just say, it's not holy as you don't have to do a pilgrimage there. And to be honest, no matter how holy it is to us, it's arguably that area is more holy and more sacred to the Jewish people. So if they took it, they're only going to take care of it. They're not going to, they're not going to go around turning that area into a toilet or doing something like that. Remember, it's sacred territory for them as well. In fact, I would feel it's more sacred for them. So even though it's a different religion, but TK, it doesn't, it's only bricks and mortar, it's not life more valuable. It's, Allah didn't send us on this earth just to preserve some bricks. Preservation of life trumps all. And at the end of the day, look, they just want to set up a temple. If they want to set up the temple and they take over and they won't be killing people, and it's dedicated to the Israeli prophets, who, by the way, are all in the Quran. So, okay, but we have to just accept that this war is lost. There's no point fighting a lost war. Because it's just, what is really tragic is the amount of people dying. And I think even though Muslims are making a big deal about that, which is rightly so, but they don't seem to be making a big deal about, like, they seem to be glossing over the fact that, wait a minute, why are we guilt tripping these people to put up with it? We should be, life comes before place. Like if you had the choice to save a life or the Kaaba, the Hadith teaches you that the Hadith says a Muslim, not even his life, his honor is much more important than the entire Kaaba being destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed. Goes up to 7 times. The honor of a Muslim, it says. Here you've got entire hundreds, thousands lives being killed, blood being shed, and people, they're upset about it, but they're like, but the Holy Land. What the hell is the Holy Land? What is this Holy Land? The Holy Land, the Holy Land. We need to realize that, look, human life comes first. These people who are tyrants are not going to back off. So what does Allah say in the Quran? Ardullahi wasi'ah. The Prophet said that Ju'ilat lil ardu masjid, and the whole earth is a sacred place for us to bow down. We don't need Jerusalem. So I feel that, look, we need to, this is my understanding, that we need to know when a fight is lost. That this against Israel is lost. And we need to kind of like just accept that. And realize that these tyrants, Israel is a tyrant terrorist state. It is not going to back down. It is going to butcher and missile children. So, and there needs to be some kind of, this needs to stop. but how do people stop it? They're never gonna. It doesn't seem like they're gonna stop. So this is my suggestion. But you see, the irony is, I bet you people all of a sudden wouldn't care about the Palestinians, because they only care about them so long as they're in Palestine. They wouldn't care about them if, oh yeah, let's get them relocated and living in another place in another nice city somewhere. They wouldn't all of a sudden that care would just go away. It'd be like, nah, stay in stay in Palestine and die. That's my thoughts on it, man. I don't know. And I'm very, look, and this is not, and you can rewind and watch what I've just said in case you've missed it. I'm not saying, I'm being very clear that Israel is being a terrorist state. That's what it's doing. But we have to realize, like, if there's a person here, and, you know, it's, look, I did a while back, I did eskrima, yeah, which was, it was stick, knife, sword kind of fighting. But there was an emphasis on stick and knife. But I remember the teacher, he told us, look, there's a simple rule in life. Yeah, he said, like, if you're ever confronted with a knife, right? He said, look, the first thing, he said that, listen to this. The first thing is run. It's not, look, you have to realize that there's certain things that are not, they're not, it's a handicap thing. It's too easy to be stabbed. He said, however, if that's not an option, that's where this skill comes in, to try and defend, to try and block, to try and turn the attack. But by the first means is you're not an equal option here. Don't try and punch the person and do, if you can, get away. That's because if a person, similarly, if a person has a gun, obviously now he's going to shoot you. You're going to have to do some zigzags. But the point is, so actually, if they've got a gun, I think it's better to fight them. I would actually charge them if they had a gun, but I would run if they had a knife. So the point is that, look, you've got to understand that these people are not going to back down, and they're going to butcher relentlessly and mercilessly. So I would say that, yeah. So I hope that doesn't upset certain people, but yeah. But this UAE thing, I don't think it's done jack. Okay, I don't think it's brokered any peace. And I do think that the king of UAE is just doing it to kind of, he's just got his own deal. Maybe Israel's paying him a bunch of, he must definitely be getting a huge whack for doing that. Maybe America has said to them, look, if you do this, we'll broker a deal with you. So there must be so many backhanders going on with that. And I think it's unfair to put the price of that on the shoulders of Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya and Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, because I don't think they really had any. Hamza Yusuf, I don't think, had anything to do with it. And Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya, even though he does kind of like sign off for the king and stuff like that, but then, he's kind of stuck as well. You got to be honest. It's not like, I don't think he would be happy with that. And no, I've heard from my sources that he's not happy with the decision either. Cool, right, alright, let's, Mufti, what about the Kashmir issue? Yeah, I feel that, look, the Kashmir issue, similarly, if that is an option, if it is an option that they were to relocate them all, then fine, but then, personally, I would say that it's slightly different. I would see some differences. Because you see, the difference with the Kashmir issue is it's a heavily militarized zone. It's not exactly like for like, because what you have is in Gaza, it's not a militarized zone. It's just a cut-off kind of prison, which they just keep bombarding. In Kashmir, it's more that there's an overkill military presence, who then, just by their very existence, will torment the kind of residents because they see them as different. So the question here is, India wouldn't really, in my understanding, ever be up for, as far as I'm aware, to kind of relocate all those kind of people comfortably. I don't think they ever would, because Indian government is like a cheap government. They would never consider that. Yeah, they might just kick them out and tell them get lost. They'd be happy to do that. But I wasn't saying that for the Palestinians, just tell them get lost. I was saying that I'm pretty sure they could broker a deal where they would happily pay, because I'm sure they would be happy to pay. So, yeah. But ideally, for the Kashmir issue, I would see, this is what I ideally opt for, is that Kashmir could just become independent. So, as in not part of Pakistan, not part of India, just independent. That, I think, would be the solution. And I think it could be done if what they did is, in the Kashmir issue, you see, a certain part of Kashmir, maybe not all of it, a certain part of it, they gave it independence. Now, whoever wants to be a part of that could then move to that part. It could work like that, I think. Because they would never give up the whole of it, because then it would make Pakistan too vulnerable. Because obviously, if they gave up the whole of Kashmir, if Pakistan gave it up, Pakistan would never give it up, because then it would be a problem it would be too close to Islamabad. And if it got infiltrated by India, they would be too close. So if they maintained buffers and just gave a certain region like the valley and certain parts, they made that independent. And some other parts, I'm not too, whatever, they can. But these things would never happen, but I wish they would. Right, so let's move on, people. What is going on? What else was there? Did I have any... Right, let's take a few of your questions. Somebody said, Mufti, you missed a super chat. Let me see. Somebody asked about Gangu Teli. I'm going to speak about that in just a moment. Is music permissible? I make beats, bro. You're doing it, huh? Yeah, music's permissible. Music isn't haram. Okay, so, Salamu Alaikum. Could you explain the hadith in which the Prophet said, expel the Christians and the Jews from the Arabian Peninsula? Yeah. See, I'm not so sure about that hadith, because that hadith just doesn't settle. I struggle to see that hadith being true. Because check this out. Oh, damn. It's sitting here. Right. My knee, right. Check this out. One of the, in Sahih Muslim, one of the final transactions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is with a Jewish Medinan resident. And the Prophet takes certain sacks of wheat or whatever it is to feed his family. And in turn, he leaves with them, with the person as an alternate payment, kind of like pawns his shield. The Prophet then passes away. Now, how can this be that the Prophet on one hand is saying, chuck out the Jews from the Jaziratul Arab, the entire Arabian Peninsula, not even that locality or this, the entire Jaziratul Arab. And on the other hand, a couple of days before he's passing away, he's trading with him. In fact, he's saying, look, oh, could you give me this and bags of wheat? Because, look, if you go to position 1, chuck them out of the entire peninsula. See, that's a very down talking, like you're talking down to someone. You're exhibiting power. Yeah? In this scenario, if A be true, then B is problematic, because here the Prophet is in a position of having to negotiate and doesn't have the money to pay him. So the Prophet is saying, how about I leave my shield and I will come back? Because if A be true, then C ought to be true, which is that the Prophet actually takes by force the wheat or whatever it was, the food from the Jewish person, and says to him, get the hell out of Medina. That it ought to be. Is that not true? I mean, come on, like, does it add, like, if I told you, look, there's such and such a person who is, I've sacked him and chucked him out, and I've seized all his properties, and I've done this and I've done that to him. And then you see you get this news report, somebody saying, oh, I've sacked such and such a person, and I've done these legal lawsuits against them, and I've even tried to seize some of his assets, and I've done this, like some horrible things. I've had his bank accounts frozen, and done this and done that. And then you see on my Insta story, me and him having a laugh at a cafe somewhere, cracking jokes, going, hey, what's up? So one of these has got to give. It just doesn't tally. Like, I can't be doing all this stuff to him and be like this with the person. So the question is, if the Prophet is saying, throw these people out of the Arabian Peninsula, strip them out of the Arabian Peninsula. Remember, from their homes, their assets, their farms, agricultural territory, strip them. You can't pick that up and take it with you. On the other hand, the Prophet is saying, because allegedly he said this towards the end of his life, allegedly, throw them out, yeah? But only a few days before he passes away, what does the Prophet? He's trading, and he's trading from a less powerful position to the Jewish trader, saying, oh, okay, I haven't got the money. Is it all right if I leave this? And the person's like, yeah, fine. Yeah, that's fine. Leave that. This doesn't add up, you see. So I find this hadith incredibly suspect. I don't believe it's true. This whole akhrijul Yahuda wa Nasara, that, min Jazirat al-Arab. I feel that this begins later on. You see, when the battles start, when the battles during Umar's time, radiallahu an, when they are start to really fuel up against the Byzantines, against the Christians, and against those, it's around those kind of times, or maybe slightly after, that these strong Christian, anti-Christian sentiments and the anti-people of the book sentiments, because the Jews and Christians were seen as more allied with each other than they were seen as with Muslims. So I feel this is a later fabrication, and that is then retrospectively projected back onto the Prophet. Yeah. Right, what is going on? What would be the motive to invent this? Yeah, I feel that later on in Islam, you do start to see a kind of sentiment. It's interesting. I'm not exactly sure at what stage. It may, right, so this thing I just said a moment ago, it could have been when the battle against the Byzantines and stuff. That's just I'm just saying a slight, that's just a thought. I just expressed it. I'm not holding that as a firm belief. But what we do see is definitely down the line, there seems to be, and this definitely within a few centuries, there seems to be this, people seem to look down on the Jews and Christians. Some people. Now, an interesting question is, when does that sentiment begin? I haven't arrived at that point in understanding. That requires a lot of research. Does it begin early on with these battles? Is it does it begin later but is then kind of redirected as though it began earlier on, and then you forge some of these incidents like these hadith and show it coming down? Is that what you do? Or maybe you find some legitimate incidents in the lifetime of the Prophet when he didn't get on with the Jewish people, and what you do is you amplify that by making it echo much louder. So, but I don't know exactly at what point. Another thing that is true is that a lot of the Muslim kings, including, what's interesting is including Muawiyah radiallahu an, the dynast, but even after the Bani Umayyah, definitely, but even after Bani Umayyah during the Abbasid time, a lot of the kings kept occasionally as their kind of prime ministers or their key ministers, they kept Christians and Jewish people because they were seen as more kind of academic. So they kept them to document stuff, they kept them to... So you see books are authored on the prohibition of fistiqtabi ahlil kitab. In fact, I've got a book here somewhere about a traditional book, classical, where the scholars start writing about why it's haram for the khulafa, the rulers, to have Jews and Christians as their as part of their administration. But it's a wide practice, and it happened for centuries. So I do know that a lot of the clergy did have this kind of hatred towards certain Jewish and Christian people. Now, remember, if these kind of hadith are to be fabricated, they will come from the clergy. They're not going to come from outside. It will be the clergymen who invent them. And sometimes it's not even sinister. Sometimes it's just false memories. It's, you wish something into existence. You just keep wishing it, and then you're like, I'm sure there was something like that. There was something I heard once. That there is a teaching. That's the kind of evolution of some of these hadith. Yeah, so right, what is going on, people? Right. I'm just trying to see some questions. People, right, more people seem to be interested in the female mods I've got on it than they do in my show. See, this is this is what you get. There's more questions being directed at them. Mufti Saab, are you Kashmiri? I am a Kashmiri, yes. Right, so Mufti is somebody saying secret chat, a super chat. You mean? Have I missed a super chat? Music? No. The Gangu Teli one, I'm going to come to that in just a moment. Yep, so lots of love. Rory, you're doing it all the way from... Is that all the way from Germany? Yep, you're doing it. Right. You once said that the beard is having too much focus. Which part of Islam do you feel has not had enough focus? Averroes dude has asked. That's an interesting question. I said that the beard in Islam seems to have had too much focus. What part of Islam does not have enough focus? There's in the words of Mutanabbi, the Arabic poet, he says, أغاية الدين أن تحفوا شواربكم. Because with the beard, they trim their tash, and they kind of, some of them shave. Honestly, it's a absolutely horrible sight they end up with. But anyway, they do that. They completely shave their tash and they grow the beard, and it just looks horrible. And Imam Malik actually said to them that, even if the shaitan tried to do a number on you, he couldn't have made you look more ridiculous than you made yourself look. So, but people do that. So the poet says, and that's associated with the beard usually. So he said, أغاية الدين أن تحفوا شواربكم. Ya ummatan dhahikat min jahliha al-umam. That he says, is this the depth of your deen, that you should just trim your tash? He says, oh, what an ummah. He says, an ummah that other ummams, other civilizations just laugh at. Now that's what we've become, a laughing stock. Right. Right, so some Pashtuns look Hindu too. I don't know what that means. Right, so people seem to be more obsessed. Right, guys, can you focus? Focus. यहाँ बैठा हुआ हूँ, not over there in the Mufti Sahib, a secret nikah. Secret nikah. You know, I was trying to bring up this comment, but I couldn't find it. It was so funny. Damn, I wanted to take a screenshot when it was there, and I thought I'll do it later on in the day, and I couldn't find it. I was like, damn. Somebody had asked me a question in my comment. He said, Mufti, then is it before the marriage is the sax SAX? He said, can one can one do the sax? I was like, yeah, this guy is really passionate about the saxophone. Yeah, this. I was like, yeah, man, go for it. you played the sax before. Play the trombone. The sax. Can we I think now we should all be playing the sax. Shall we? And that's when you realize that can you imagine, as soon as the music, as soon as the class starts and everybody stands up, he's like taken off all his clothes and he's standing there. Teacher's like, all right guys, 10 seconds, we're gonna all play the sax. And then they turn around and everybody's there with the saxophone and he's there naked. I thought we said we're gonna play the sax. Is this this is wrong? This is the wrong class? I come to the wrong class or the right class? Is that a toy? Are we going to be using this toy? Right. So I tell you now, I don't think I can handle this toy. Right, so yeah. So what's the question on secret nikahs? Well, you see, rather than that, what I don't advocate the secret kind of nikah thing, but what I would say is I do advocate the permissibility of temporary, or what I suppose, if that's what people mean. But there's a difference, you see, with, I don't know exactly what people mean when they say secret, because I could be picturing something else. So I don't advocate the whole the kind of you see, there's things where people will, there's certain kind of nikahs that they will be like, shh, okay, look here, only this one person knows, and this other one is on a video phone, and to the woman, shh, don't tell anyone. And then the woman kind of is in that relationship with the impression that this is going to become a normal relationship, but then it seldom ever materializes. And I feel that that's highly deceptive. So if that's what they mean by it, I would condemn that kind of stuff. If that's what they mean by secret nikah. If they mean by it a kind of low commitment nikah, then I wouldn't really call it a secret nikah. I would call it like whatever, like to me, that's just between two adults, whatever they they both are comfortable with, it's nobody's business what they're comfortable with. So if they said, look, this is what it is, we'll just be like this, we're gonna, it's a it's an off-peak time term time only kind of like relationship, whatever, it's their business. If that's what they want, then that's, nobody has a say in that. If they both are of the understanding that, look, yeah, we're just, we've got this, we're not really going on about it, it's just something for convenience for them, it's up to them. Somebody might say, oh, that's disgusting, oh, that's like, but it's look, if it's between them two, then that is perfectly fine and it's up to them. So I don't see that like the first one, which is more I see as exploitation. So that I'm against, but this I would feel is permissible. In addition to things like temporary, what is called mut'a, I do feel that that's not haram, and I will at some point go into much depth once I finalize Ibn Azraq's book. But it isn't, from what I've understood, it's not haram. I think it's highly politicized. Yeah. Speaking about politicized, I've been reading up a bit more, but I won't do a full analysis yet, but I'll just give you a little preview. I've been reading up more on this whole Hadith al-Ifk, this Hadith of the Great Lie. Sorry, not the Hadith, the incident of the Ifk. And the more I'm reading into it, what I feel that, you see, because what I found is there's different narratives. I definitely am inclined to the understanding that the ifk in the Quran that is being mentioned, damn, that's my throat going again. Ow. So what I definitely do feel is that the ifk mentioned in the Quran is referring to an incident with Maria radiallahu anha, not the incident to do with Aisha radiallahu anha. Because when you look at it, it just makes so much sense. Like the hadith, the incident of Aisha is attributed to this battle of Bani al-Mustaliq, which is around the 6th Hijri, or some say before that, maybe 5th Hijri. I've even heard some say 4th Hijri, but Surah An-Nur, to do with the verses of Ifk, is in 8th Hijri. Maria comes to Medina in 7th Hijri and then falls pregnant and has a baby in 8th Hijri. So it's, yeah, and it's really interesting. And I feel that one, it tallies with the ramifications as well. Some of the, and I've noticed some of the Shia have actually said this as well. As I've been researching it, I've realized some of the Shia have said this, although they feel that maybe Aisha radiallahu anha began the whole ifk thing. I think that's a stretch. I feel, this is in my understanding, okay, I think both incidents happened. So when in early, it was still, okay, relatively early, whether it's mid the Prophet's life in Medina or whatever, whether it's 4, 5 or 6, whatever, when the Prophet comes back from Bani al-Mustaliq, I feel that there were rumors to do with Aisha that did happen, but they were resolved then. And later on, a couple of years later, this incident happens with Maria that people start saying, and there's a hadith in Hakim, by the way, where Aisha is actually transmitting about Maria's slander, that people started to say that the Prophet's child, they said that he lishiddati hubbihi, that for the Prophet's excessive love to have a child, idda'a walada ghayri, that he claimed somebody else's child for himself. And this is actually in the riwayat and the Sunni books, you find this. So in Hakim, it's interesting that Aisha is the one speaking. She says, and she uses the word ifk to do with Maria. So, radiallahu anha. So, yeah, that's my. So I feel that they both happened, but that one was of much more importance. Like, as in, not like they were both important, but that one was of much more grave consequence. And the verses of the Quran were to do with that. But because the verses go on to not only exonerate the person, but they also go on to claim that modesty and mentions believing that she's from the faithful. Later on in life, when the whole incident began, the splits between the Shia and the Sunnah, when the camps became slightly anti Aisha, I feel that people, like, you see, it's possible, it's very possible, because you have to remember, you see, for Aisha radiallahu anha herself, in later life, when she read the verses of Ifk, she could have identified with them as well. So it's not that, because remember, an incident like that, if we go with that, it did happen. So when you're reading it, you're identifying with it, even if it was primarily meant for someone else. So I feel in later life, she may have said that, yes, that does refer to me as well. Or people may have definitely kind of pushed it on her that, doesn't this also refer to you? And she would have owned it because she could identify with it. And so it's kind of true by its meaning, it refers to her, but although I don't feel it was revealed for her, it was revealed for Maria. And then with the Zubayrid narrative of history, Maria becomes inconsequential and she becomes insignificant. So they just completely move her out the picture, which is another disservice that Muslim scholars have really done. And the Muslim legacy, I feel, has betrayed Maria radiallahu anha, because it kind of really just buried this whole Ifk story. Because it is in our Sunni books, by the way. It's in Sahih Muslim that, oh, she was accused of having an affair, but they don't even mention her name. They try and put it off as she was a slave of the Prophet. They say a slave woman of the Prophet, Walad. But it was, that's not true, and she was a wife. And but yeah, so that's an interesting thing. I thought I'd just share that with you. Right, guys, we're gonna start to wrap up. You're not Muslim, wallahi. Village, tallahi, you're not Muslim. Mufti Abu Layth, you're not a Muslim, wallahi. Village, tallahi. Your village. I think you need to go back to your village, Hussein Salafi. Babio. Right, the wobblers are here. Right, so cool. Right, so speaking of wobblers, people. Yeah, somebody said Maria was a Coptic Egyptian. She was. There's an interesting theory as well. I'm still researching that. And this was more speaking with Ustadha Yasmin Amin, who is the granddaughter of the great Egyptian historian Ahmed Amin, right? Those of you that are familiar with him. So she had mentioned to me, and it's got me kind of thinking. I'm still researching it though, but her suggestion is that it was the Zuhad lifestyle, the Zuhad, the kind of very ascetic food, dietary, not restrictions, but the kind of dietary lifestyle, the ascetic dietary lifestyle that the wives of the Prophet had, that would not then result in pregnancies. And this was something she has written about. I think her book's to be released next month. But it's quite, okay, it's intriguing, it's quite interesting. And because Maria, when she came, she was a Coptic. She embraces Islam, marries the Prophet. She then the wives don't like her. One, she's a foreigner and things like this. So the Prophet has a settlement for her outside of Medina. So she lives about 3 kilometers from Medina in the Awali. So because of that, her dietary thing is completely different. She doesn't adhere to this ascetic kind of dietary lifestyle, and that then aids in the pregnancy as well. So that's something Ustada Yasmin Amin had written. It's quite intriguing. It's interesting. I thought, that's a perspective. I've got to still research more about it. Right, so people, moving on. Right, we've got to move on, people. Speaking of, we had somebody there saying Wahhabi Wobbler. Right, so speaking of wobblers, right, where we at? Wow, wobbler ji, wobbler. Right, we've got Peoples, our own beloved Gangu Teli. Right, so those of you that are not familiar, there was this huge kind of meltdown that Gangu Teli has had, where he's gone on Twitter and he's put up this kind of this post, obviously attacking me. Now, I don't use Twitter much. Okay, in fact, in those 2 days, I probably used Twitter more than I've used in about a year and a half. So I find Twitter too toxic. I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't use it. So what I have is, when I post things on, let's say, Instagram or Facebook, I have the settings that it will share it to Twitter, but I seldom log into Twitter. But anyway, so I went on, somebody sent it to me, so I went on there, and he's kind of having this whole, Mufti Abu Layth, whatever, oh my God, he's doing this, he's just attacking me, making fun of the scholars, blah, blah, blah. So it turns into this huge drama. So he's like, he's got me blocked. So then I have him unblocked. I mean, let me just tell you what's going on with our beloved Gangu Teli Saab. What's going on is that, you see, he, as I've mentioned before, was behind the whole Yasir Qadi leaks. Okay, he's Farid Leaks. Now, because of this, because he leaked Yasir Qadi's emails to, eventually to Dawa Man, who exposed them, this has been known in certain circles, although the public have only recently started to catch wind of this. So he used to be a part of a group, I don't know why they called themselves Sunni Defense, but they were actually like the Wahhabi Defense, but they were just pure anti-Shia. That was their purpose. And they would just make videos against the Shia. Now, along the way, he came across me as well, and he tried refuting me. Obviously, it wasn't as easy as he thought. So he's like, cha. Right, now what happens is that group, the TS, not standing for TSD, not standing for transsexuals disguised. That's not what it stands for. But the TSD, the TS, what the TS do is they chuck him out of the group. Chuck. There's no pun intended here, right? I know chakka also means transsexual in in Urdu, but so they chuck him out of this group. Now, so he is kind of like, I don't know what to do. So to gain relevance and to gain some attention, what he does is he thinks, I know, I'll latch on to Mufti Abu Layth, because surely Mufti Abu Layth has many haters. So this will give me some credibility amongst the diverse groups and sustain a following. To me, by all means, Baba Fariduddin, by all means, if that, if becoming obsessed with me gives your life some meaning, some purpose, go for it, man. Go for it. So anyway, what we had this thing going on. So he went and had this kind of meltdown on Twitter, this back forth. He's doing all this. He's mocking the scholars. I'm mocking the scholars. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. So I said to him, look, I tell you what. He's saying I'm a jahil. I'm a, all kinds of thing. I'm a zindiq, I'm a kafir. Zindiq means a kafir, yeah, non-Muslim. So he's just pretending, he's deceiving Muslims that he's a Muslim. So I said, look, I'll tell you what, this whole thing, you coming to defend Hadith, I will have a discussion with you on Sahih Bukhari. I said to him, I will have a discussion with you. What say you? Let's have this. So he responded by this discussion, rather. He's like, look, listen, man, discussion with him. I have discussions with people who I respect. That he will humiliate me. He will come. I'm just a child. I'm just a heretic. So this is what and there he is saying, Oi, Zindiq, Mufti Abu Layth, I'm still waiting for my apology. Vah. Keeping in mind, people, that this apology, yeah, I said, what about, since you're so keen about apologies, what about Sheikh Yasir Qadi's apology? You know that when you forgot to wear the nappy and you leaked? What about that? Isn't he waiting for 4 years? His apology was basically he'd been blocked by me. Now, the point is, I said to him, so I offered our beloved Ganguteli, I said to him, look, listen, let's have a discussion. He's like, discussion? I don't have discussions with people I don't respect. I have a debate. Child, I will humiliate you. So I said, look, I tell you what, this is exactly my point. Since I'm just a child in front of Farid Ganguteli and a Zindiq, why doesn't he just come live with me? That day I offered him, come live and just destroy me then. This is, you can obliterate, you can decimate me in front of the world. It should be easy, yeah? Because since I'm such a jahil, like, let's be real. Since I'm so ignorant of what I'm doing, how difficult is it to come and just completely humiliate me online? Just turn up. I offered him so many times. So many people said to him, look, even his own wobbler followers, they were saying, look, come on, Sheikh, you're on the haqq, he's on falsehood, you can destroy him, please. He was like, no, I will only have a moderated dialogue. I will fly over to the UK. I will fly over there. I will only have a moderated dialogue. I don't respect it. Sorry. Moderated debate. And his point was, in between, at one point, because the tweets were loads, in between at one point, I just said, okay, I shouldn't have said it because he was just looking for a little excuse. So I just said, all right, yeah, go on then, since you're flying, because he kept going on, no, I'm going to go there, I'm going to fly there. I said, all right, Birmingham, this centre, go on, turn up. And this Momo, I said, you know what, Momo can just sit in as the moderator. Oh, no, I don't agree. But now we've moderated, we wanted this, now you can't, now I want this person, I want... Dili, अच्छा. Dili se kuch aur yaad aaya. Right, so other अच्छा, just quoting अच्छा, nob se mahanob. It's interesting that, people of that flock together of an ilk. Cancer, I suppose, just clings to cancer. So I was like, look, I said to him, look, listen, cut the, it's like, oh, listen, chaval, stop these kind of little, I said to him, look, cut the nonsense, the drama, just come live. Just come live now. Like, in fact, I never said now, because that could be unfair to him. I said, look, in a couple of hours, let's go live. What say you? Let's do that. And I said, look, I give you my word that it'll be civil. Since you have all the answers, since I'm just a kid in front of you, you're like, he doesn't know anything. If I was obsessed with somebody, that I stalked them, I watched hundreds of hours of their videos, I hated them, my mission in life became to prove them wrong, and I felt they were so dumb, if they invited me to a live, I would snap that up instantaneously. That would be a godsend, because now I could go live and I could just show them for the ignorant person they are. It's like that guy who came on, wanted to debate me on my Mufti's meetup about Jesus. Boy, did he get schooled. And this is it, you see, because they absolutely underestimate what they're coming up against. And they think, what could he possibly know? Sits there with a necklace on and he's got an earring and he's got what could he know about Islam? I'll just go there and So this was my point. So I said to him on so many occasions, look, what say you? Then I was just fed up. I said, look, I'm saying this a final time. I don't need a babysitter to talk, right? Let's talk. Let's not, enough of your drama, right? Oh, I'm going to catch a flight, ka bacha. Catch a flight. Gets booted out of TS. The TS crew. I'm going to catch flights to the UK to have a debate. I was like, look, before you so proudly want to catch flights, just come live. Just look, come live with me. Let's have a discussion or a debate or whatever. Boy, and then even his own followers started saying it to him. So he got so vexed because of my video, this one. He was so upset about this. So he was like, I'm gonna make a video. There's a video coming out. I'm gonna decimate. I'm gonna destroy. So he made a video. He hyped up this video. Ooh. Everybody was like, whoa. Wow. This mega video is coming. Even I was thinking. I was thinking, damn, I'm stuck. Ooh. फंसा दिया ना तूने मुझे बड़ी मुसीबत की घड़ी है. So I was like, oh no, I'm stuck. So he makes a video that he's destroyed my career. And the video is basically some YouTube comments. This is, he appealed to the youth. Fashionista. I'm actually flattered he called me a fashionista. I didn't really think that, but chalo. Allah, he made such a damaging video. It was the most popular video if you searched Abu Layth. One day, another video. Ooh. Abu Layth is haram. Stay away. It's the same video, different thumbnail. Ooh. His reputation was... This is how people reacted. Ooh. And this video is called I Destroyed Abu Layth's Career. I love the music though, the background music. Abu Layth is a kafir, murtad, one word, dajjal, kafir. He's an open munafiq. Kafir, murtad. See, that's an oxymoron, open munafiq. Because you'd have to be a hidden munafiq to be a munafiq. Alright, so may Allah destroy the kafir. This guy is a munafiq. Khabith, munafiq, zindiq, kafir. Whoa, talk about the the adjectives, I really think is Majid Nawaz's brother. What religion does he belong to? What religion does he belong to? What religion does he belong to? Where's my Wahhabi? Oh my God, I'm done with him. This guy has utterly destroyed me. Oh my God. An atheist is more religious than Mufti Abu Layth. Might be, actually. fair point. He's got a point. I do like the music though, it's very soothing. Although according to him, music is haram. Wow. So these are the YouTube comments on his own channel. On his own channel, yeah. So he is misguided. Oof. Yeah, this one teasing me, you know. Where are the defenders of this Zindiq? Where are they? They have been destroyed. Wow. You. That's my old range, that is. You. Annie, we destroyed this Korea, man. Io vabbio. They destroyed my career. I don't know. I think I should just take up drinking now. That must be the first destruction in history where nobody realized anything happened. यार destruction भी हो गया और पता भी नहीं लगा. Pure, like, wow. I'm just trying to be like, यार अफसोस है. What is it that got destroyed though? He's actually titled that video. I'm not making this up. He's titled it. You know what? When I downloaded it, it didn't seem to have brought in the thumbnail, which is a shame. He's actually titled it, I destroyed Abu Layth's career. That's the actual audacity of what he thinks. Just check this out. Just quickly, I'll show you guys. So, oh, you can't really see it there, but it is, you'll see the kind of, it's actually called, it's not focusing, but the top one. But if you type it in, it's got a picture of me with a few teeth knocked out. Edited, and he's written, how I destroyed Abu Layth's career. Fareed responds, Vah. Ayo Gangu Teli, ah. Vah. Kaha Raja Bhoj? Kaha Gangu Teli? This is him. Ayo Gangu Teli, you're doing it. That was the note that destroyed my career. He's doing the same dance. Wow. And so I'm really, so people, if you're ever wondering, I'm destroyed. So that's the story behind my destruction. You know, if you're ever trying to figure out why is Mufti destroyed, that's the destruction. But yaar bas pata nahi chal raha hai ki what was it that was destroyed. Yo piddi. This reminds me of that same story I've told you guys. You know, with the little piddi bird falls down and a leaf falls down and with its legs, it holds up the leaf and it says, Aaj dunya tabah ho jati. The whole world would have been destroyed today if I hadn't held the heavens up with my feet. Oh! Ay, piddi. So that's, so I was saying to Gangu Teli, GT, that look, just come on live and let's have a discussion. But you see, this is the problem. Nothing but drama. Drama, drama, drama. So yeah, guys, I think we should start to wrap it up now. Whoa, it's coming up to 3 hours. I think we need to wrap up. There's some final advice, and the advice
Dajjal
is...
with a small d.
No, this was...
Or we can say mini Dajjals, no problem.
But I had to share
But
that
there
for
is one Dajjal with a big D. Okay?
GT. So, I was actually going to share this. Some good advice. My Bappu. This is some advice. It's just like, I think, 30 seconds long. It's where Bappu, aka, I mean, called aka Bappu, but not Maulana, but Ilyas Qadri Saab is sharing some advice about people who, you know, where you have two passengers on a bike. So they call that in Urdu double savari. Savari is somebody ride a passenger. So double passengers, so double savari. Then you have triple savari on a bike. So it's like, you're nutty, triple, you know, this sandwiching case is not nice, you know. So it's just sharing that.
मैं तो यही मतलब मशवरा देता हूँ कि स्कूटर पर भी डबल सवारी पर बैठे हैं तो ये देख लें कि कहीं वो गंदा ज़हन तो नहीं बन रहा,
गंदा ज़हन तो नहीं बन रहा,
बिल्कुल चिपक के बैठते हैं। ट्रिपल तो तौबा तौबा, आँख थू, समझदार आदमी कभी करेगा नहीं। ट्रिपल सवारी इतना खतरनाक, ये चिपक कर बैठते हैं और स्पार्किंग नहीं होती हो, ये बहुत मुश्किल है। बिल्कुल यानी कि ऐसा नहीं क्या करें, फिर कानूनी भी जुर्म है ट्रिपल सवारी।
यार ये ज़हन गंदा तो नहीं बन रहा है यार, ये डबल सवारी, ट्रिपल सवारी, ओह यार ये मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, ये क्या हो रहा है? Double, triple. People, don't be doing the triple, okay? Don't be doing the double. So, right, so, cool. I was just trying to read some comments here. Is Ali right? Okay, is Ali mentioned really in the Quran? Right. Okay, no, Ali radiallahu anh isn't mentioned in the Quran. Zebaji, shukran, much appreciated, the super chat. Right. Please, Mufti, tell me, ab kya batao yaar, we're wrapping this up. I don't know what you're asking. What people are like, please tell me, please tell you what. Guys, let's wrap this up. As always, it's been awesome. We've had, been through quite a few things. So, but yeah, remember that advice, people, as you go into this week. This triangular situation, complicated, you know, it's complex, you know, this different isosceles or this equilateral, this one not nice. Guys, if you haven't already subscribed if you haven't already subscribed, then god damn. There you go, people. YouTube, click the notification bell. Yaar, click the bell, yaar. Kya? Hater log. Patreon, I'm on Patreon if you want to subscribe. I've started up, we're trying to set a little kind of thing. It's been the first month. So I've also started, one of the things with it is a resources page as well. There's a chat group for Telegram, but I've started a resources page as well where I share just anything interesting. I might come across something, I want to share it with people. So that's part of the thing as well, and a lot more stuff to come as well. But anyway, you can check it out. Instagram, if you want to reach out, that's probably a good place to reach out. but do subscribe. And if you haven't already seen my Ganguteli video, then you can watch it. Other than that, people, I don't know what he's saying, by the way, but he just seems so happy. That's how happy Ganguteli is. That's how happy Ganguteli is that he's that he's destroyed my career. This is Ganguteli. His arguments are that convincing that they're going forward to spread forth and populate. His ideas are like that. And here they are. This is him going to end my career. People, as always, gotta love you and leave you. Take very good care of yourselves. Remember me in a kind dua. Remember to smile, people. Remember to have your daily dose of laughter, to perform some kind of act of charity, and take very good care of yourselves. Salamullahi alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Over and out, folks.